Dealmakers, what's up?
My vision is to completely and utterly disrupt the market for buying and selling small businesses all over the world.
Give it up for CarlAllen!
So one of the things about being 52 years of age is my eyesight is not all that great. So thank you to Chris Moore for putting a gigantic grandfather-size TV so I can see my frickin' slides. Again, what Abraham talked about in the last session is find a creative problem find a creative solution to the problem. The problem was the screen was so small I couldn't see. So he's gone and ripped the TV off the wall and he stuck it on the chair. So we're all good. So I'm going to do two sections together. I'm going to talk about establishing your journey. And then I'm going to reiterate a couple other things that Abraham talked about around mindset because they're so critical. And then we're going to talk about the kind of types of deals that you can do. There's so many different deals that you could do. It's like the coffee stand where you've gone for a coffee. There's probably, if you do the math, there's probably 1,000 different variations of coffee that you can have, right? Different sizes, different flavors, different syrups, different milk. There's lots of different types of businesses and deals that you can do, and you can figure out which is your own path. So we're going to talk about positioning yourself, which is really, really important. We'll talk about choosing your path. There's 1,000 different paths into the deal-making forest, show you which they are. And then choosing your niche, your buy box, really, really important. Kind of the work-life balance aspects of deal-making. And then we're going to also talk about core values. So positioning yourself, really, really important. You want to position yourself as an investor and as a deal maker and that you buy businesses. Now, you're not necessarily investing money, but you are investing time, you're investing your brain, you're investing your network, you're investing lots of different things. Investment isn't necessarily capital. Investment can be a lot of other things. So LinkedIn is the most powerful tool out there for positioning yourself. So that's my LinkedIn profile. Definitely hit me up on LinkedIn and connect with me. So private equity investor, business buyer and deal maker, CEO and co-founder Dealmaker Wealth Society, co-founder Kings of Deals. If I put all my businesses on there, it'd be a big page of kind of stuff. But create your own LinkedIn profile. Really, really important. And reminder what we talked about first thing, your buy box, really important. There's over 2 million businesses for sale. You can be very, very choosy in the sorts of deals that you want to do. Remember, number one, stay in your lane. Do a deal in an area you know something about or partner. Number two, find a distressed seller of a good business. And number three, make sure it's got cash flow. Who loves cash flow? Yeah. Don't buy a business without any cash flow. And then what Abraham talked about before, so important that you focus and you create that SMART goal, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. Don't just say, hey, I want to do some deals. Get really, really super specific. So I want to do some deals is not a SMART goal. A SMART goal would be I want to acquire 3 CPA firms by the end of 2023 within Texas or California. I want to be an owner-investor, not an owner-operator. And those businesses need to be between $1 and $3 million in revenues and 10% profit margin. Once you dial that in, it helps you find those opportunities because you're not bouncing around from sector to sector. Now, your wealth creation plan is also really, really cool. So I'm going to ask Chris to come up and toggle onto the Excel spreadsheet. And I want to show you what you can do to kind of set your financial goals. Because a lot of people come into deal making, and one of the questions they have is, so how much money do I want to make as a deal maker, and by when? So I built a tool for my protege mastermind guys. Who's in protege? So you guys will have used this tool, and it helps you determine how many deals that you want to do. So let's say you had a financial goal. You want to make $2.5 million per year. Sorry, $2.5 million over a 5-year period. You want to make $500,000 a year as a deal maker. That's going to put you in the top 1% of all taxpayers in the United States. But let's say you want to do really small deals. You only want to buy businesses that are $500,000 in revenues, minimum 10% profit margin in the business. And then we're going to make a couple of assumptions. Assumption number one is whatever the cash flow is coming out of the business, the EBITDA as we call it, the profit, We're going to use half of that money for ourselves and half of that money as debt service. And then we're going to take 10% of the top line revenue as a salary. So not only are we getting a salary out of the business, we're going to get distributions as well, which are going to be half of the profit. And then let's assume we're going to buy these businesses and we're going to grow them 10% per year, which is not that hard. And then we're going to sell those businesses in the future. So the revenue is going to be higher. The margins are going to be higher because we're going to get economies of scale. So you could, if you did 2.2 deals in 5 years, you would make $2.5 million. But that's buying the smallest businesses with the smallest profit margins. Let's say you went, okay, I want to make $10 million in 5 years, right? So what you can do is if you want to do the same size of deals, well, now you've got to buy 9 businesses in 10 years. Not that hard, but if you just upped your buy box and said, well, actually, let me buy businesses that are doing $2 million a year, same margin, you only need to do 2 deals. So remember what I said before, the larger the business, the more the cash flow, the easier it is to kind of get to that wealth creation goal. So really, really important. And it's why this is so powerful is you've got to plan in terms of your buy box. What businesses do I want to buy? What type of sellers do I want to find? What sort of cash flow am I looking for? But then when you crystallize it in a financial plan, you know that if you achieve and execute on these things, that's the sort of cash flow, that's the sort of wealth generation that you're actually going to hit. Right, let's go back to the slides. Was that useful? Okay. Inspiring, right? Okay, so choosing your niche. I want to go over this just again. We've covered it a couple of times because it's so important to stay in your lane. You know, where are you experienced? What are your skill sets? What sectors do you like? Where can you add value? What do you enjoy? What Abraham said, what's going to make you happy, right? Do deals in areas that are going to make you happy. Happiness is everything, right? And become deal agnostic. One of the mistakes that some deal makers make when they're brand new to this is they get what we call deal heat, right? I remember when I was a young man, I completely had a crush on this girl, and I had total deal heat. She didn't want to go out with me, don't blame her. But I had massive deal heat. If I'd have adopted the same deal-making tactics in my dating life, I wouldn't have latched on to the one person. I'd have, found 7 or 8 that were really interesting to me, and I would have moved on. It's the same when you're doing deals. You've got to be deal agnostic. Don't fall in love with a deal. If it's not right, move on. It's a numbers game. It's about finding lots and lots of opportunities. And when Abraham's gone through the deal flow sourcing aspect, you're going to have all these amazing strategies to go and get deal flow. Work-life balance is really important. Happiness. Again, don't buy a business on the opposite side of the world if you want to be an owner-manager, because you're not going to be with your family. Be an owner-investor if that's the business that you want to get. And get routined about it. We talked about it this morning that you're going to learn so much stuff over the next 3 days, but it's execution trumps knowledge every single time. You've got to put this stuff into action, and you've got to execute. And defining your why is really, really important. What if I told you guys there's nobody in this room, me and Abraham included, that want to buy businesses? We don't. We don't want to buy businesses. We don't want to own businesses. We want the deep emotional benefits that being a business owner will give us. It's wealth creation. It's cash flow. It's freedom. Like, we don't have to take orders from anybody apart from my wife. I'll tell you a story. Like, I come to these events. This is so funny. I come to these events and, I do the selfies and the videos, and I love it. It makes me feel so proud to be able to coach people like you. And then when I go home, I'll pull up. I have a little country estate in England, and I pull up through the gates. And my wife is always stood at the door with a big carrier bag and a set of rubber gloves. And my job's to guide a whole bunch of dogs. My job's to go out and pick up all the dog poop off my 3-acre garden in my house, right? That's the way she grounds me, right? And that's a big part of my why, that what I do, is for my family. Work-life balance is really, really important. What's also really good about being a deal maker and making a lot of money is money is just a tool, right? It's an instrument of good. Money can make people good. Money can make people bad. Like, I'll never forget the first time off one of my earlier deals, I bought my mother a house, right? I literally went and bought her this house. And it was absolutely phenomenal. What that gave back to me, that contribution, what my mother did to kind of put me through college, and my father died when I was really young, so she kind of put me through and did everything for me. For me to give back and go buy her a house was like so powerful. So when you've got goals like that as part of your why, part of your purpose, it puts you on a different level. You'll run through brick walls to get things done if you've got that burning desire inside of you. So Tony Robbins taught me this when I was in his mastermind a few years ago. It's all about the what, why, how. We talked about the what. Your buy box is all about a SMART goal. Be very, very specific on the types of deals that you want to do. We talked about your why, your purpose, the fire inside of you that's going to make you follow through when you want to quit. And then really it's just the how, which is the next 3 days. It's understanding the tools and the strategies and the technologies to allow you to go out and execute on this stuff.